Hi, everyone, my favorite people in the whole world, my listeners and my YouTube viewers. Welcome to another episode of I Never Knew, But My Dog Did podcast. Who am I? I am Maureen Scanlon. I am a master life coach helping you recognize and elevate your self-worth for your desired life. What do I do? Here on the podcast, as well as my coaching and in life with my friends and family. I create a safe space for you to be vulnerable and to grow. Key there, we have to grow, guys. And what do you get? You get before and after results of positive change and self love. And I hope that is what this podcast is bringing to you. And as always, I have a wonderful guest who will help me, partner with me, team up with me to do those things. And it's kind of unusual, the guest that I have. It's kind of unusual for me to choose someone who does almost exactly what I do. But I think this is the funness of it, if you can say that, if that is a word. This is the fun of therapy and mental health work and counseling and coaching is that we all, it doesn't matter how many there are, and apparently there are, I believe, last I checked, there were like 200,000 life coaches worldwide, and that does not include therapists and counselors. So there's no excuse if you're struggling mentally to not get help because it's out there. And finances usually are not a problem. You can find the help that you need to get assistance. And remember that 988 is that emergency number that if you are having some type of a crisis or suicidal ideation, please utilize that. So that being said, my little PSA, I need to tell you about my guest. First of all, he's very handsome. He he
Thank
calls
you.
he
Thank you.
called himself boring, and you know, listeners, that I do not allow boring. There's no boring people. There's only boring topics, and we don't have boring topics here, nor do we have boring company. So we won't allow him to think that he is boring. But let me tell you about him. His journey into the field of mental health began with a deep-rooted passion for helping others navigate life's challenges. With a bachelor's in psychology from Georgia State University and a master's in clinical counseling psychology from Brunel University, he has dedicated his career to supporting individuals and couples in their healing journeys. Over the years, he's gained hands-on experience through his work in several mental health organizations and coaching, where he has helped clients work through a range of personal challenges, from relationship issues to self-esteem struggles. What sets him apart is his holistic approach to mental health, and you all know how I feel about that. Oh, focusing not just on symptom relief, but empowering clients with practical tools for personal growth and lasting change. He is committed to making healing accessible and relatable. And I cannot wait to find out what his own experience is with it. So, listeners, as you know, as you listen to that, I'm a relationship expert myself, a dating coach, and I work on self love and self esteem. So, we are one, my friend. Welcome, my friend Phillip. How are you today? And I'm going to say Quinones, right?
Absolutely. Thank you for that. No, thank you so much for having me today. That was a beautiful introduction. And that's given me so much energy to start off a great conversation. So thank you so much for having me, Maureen.
Absolutely. I'm so happy that you're here. And like I said, I don't normally have a guest on that has so much in common with me because I like to bring differences to the table. But what I love is we're going to work together on teaching people what we do in coaching and in therapy, as well as I want to hear your story because that's what this is. On I Never Knew Inc., we talk about your knee story, and I think we've all had it, especially people who are helpers, light workers on this planet. I believe we all have been through. The people who've been through the most in this life are the most compassionate and loving and helping people that I meet. So let's start off with your knee story, the moments in your life, maybe one, maybe a few, that you just were like, this is not working. I need help. Something has to change. I need a different trajectory. I need clarity. Tell us about a moment in your life where you had a knee moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what happened with my life for the most part was a lot of happenstance. I would say that I am a person because of how I grew up and how I came up, that I was always doing my own thing, and the right people and the right circumstances and the right path presented itself. I didn't necessarily have a strict goal. I didn't have a dream. I just was kind of navigating through life, doing the things that I enjoyed to do, being really good in the educational field, performing really well in school. But other than that, everything was kind of nonchalant for myself. I'm kind of that type of person, and people would kind of describe me like that. Like I'm very adamant and purposeful, but other than that, I'm kind of nonchalant. So just kind of starting off my journey, I coming out of high school, I didn't even care where I went to college, like to be honest. I graduated high school, my high school diploma, and then as well as my associate's degree from DeVry University because we had that type of program back in the day for school. And so I didn't really care where I went to school. I didn't have anything I wanted to study. I didn't have a dream school. So literally, I'm not kidding. Like, I don't even think I did my own admissions. Like, I think my mom actually did my admissions for me and applied to other colleges. And then once she said I got into a couple, I was like, I can go there. Like I don't even know what it was. I just wanted to go there. So okay, cool. Because I knew I was going to go to college. I just didn't really care. So I wanted to go pre-med because I was an athlete, and then I wanted to get to the NBA at some point in time. But unfortunately, due to a lot of injuries, I wasn't able to get a collegiate scholarship to play basketball. So I would say I had the brains, so I know I could perform. And I went pre-med because I wanted to do physical therapy. Wasn't good in biology, ended up being a field that's a little bit similar to that, which would be sports agency.
Mhm.
And what happened was I couldn't get into the major because I was 0.04 points away from getting a C in accounting. And they wouldn't allow me into the major with that many points away from getting a C, which you needed to get into the major. So at that point in time, I was 2 years into actual college and went to my advisor and said, hey, look, with all the credits from my high school, all the credits that I've already done, what would get me out of here in 2 years? I don't care what it is. And she said, da 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 da, psychology. I was like, again, let's go with that. So I went with psychology, graduated from Georgia State. And if you know or don't know, you can't do anything with a degree in psychology. Like you can't. You have to go to grad school. So what did I do? I did an audit of myself, which is something I also recommend to my clients to do, which is what are my passions? What are my values? What can I do if I wasn't being paid for it? And what could be financially beneficial in the long run? And I've always enjoyed having deep conversations with people. I've been drawn by people through the pain that they go through, the tough experiences, the things that happen behind closed doors. And people have trusted me with that. And I really enjoy those conversations. I'm very bad at small talk. I'm very bad at socializing minusculely amongst other people. And so those were real things. And I can see that people needed a space to do that. And I enjoy that. I could be with people for hours and, early mornings because we've been talking all night. And so after doing that audit and finishing up, 6 months later, I was in grad school to become a therapist because that sounded like a therapist to me. So then I went to Brunel and then I finished up my master's 4 years later because, and this is getting back to your question, I went through a lot of depression for sure. I went through depression from kind of middle school all the way up, actually, till now, to be honest. And the diagnosis that I haven't received from my own therapist, but that I've kind of given to myself is called dysthymia, which is a mild form of depression. It's not necessarily major depression, which is the most severe, but dysthymia, where at times in my life, I've been really down. So down that even going back to college, I was going through a very, very bad breakup. And literally was so down bad that I didn't even go to my own graduation. for college. Like I didn't go. Like I was just down bad that much. Not eating, sleeping 16 hours a day, not working out, only eating, I think maybe a Chick-fil-A biscuit if I was lucky that day, not drinking water, not keeping up with my hygiene, looking like, those old school cavemen in those Geico commercials, like not caring about any of those things. And so really down bad so much that, my mom was disappointed, like, go to your own graduation. I'm like, I literally am feeling the weight of all of this negativity. Like, I don't want to go, unfortunately. And I didn't. I did not go. And so after that, when I was in grad school, again, I was dating a different type of girl, was getting back up, was motivated. It's a new chapter, new beginning. This is a professional degree now. It's tailored to what I want to do because I think this is my calling. And unfortunately, had a very bad relationship with that woman as well. And so much so that I had dropped out of my master's program. And that was the first time in my life that I ever quit something because the weight of what was happening in that relationship was so much. There was so much emotional trauma put onto me by this person, and it overwhelmed me. And at that point in time, I was still seeing clients, and I was asking myself, like, are they getting the best of me? Like, I'm showing up to sessions, like literally waking up after not sleeping, like 1 minute before session, like just literally in my pajamas, didn't shower, none of those type of things. And during this time, it was COVID, so we were remote, but still, like, I was not performing well as I'm impacting people on very serious things. And not to say that when I was doing it that I wasn't competent, but I know it wasn't my best. My notes were late. I, would even cancel on clients like just because I couldn't do it that day because I was going through that in my relationship. So I had to say to myself, you can't do this. Like, and that was the first time I dropped out or quit something. And then for a year and a half, I was trying to make it my own way, was working, doing minuscule type of jobs. And then I was like, no, like my mom raised me to finish what I started. So I went back into the program, had to reduce some more classes, and did the clinical internship all over again. And then completed a thesis and then eventually graduated. And I'm moving on to the next chapter from there. But I've, for myself, have battled with so much depression coming from relationships most of the time. And I've been down in those type of moments for a good minute, but I came back up once I was over it and slowly progressed to getting back to where I am. And for a good year now, I've really been coasting very, very well. And there hasn't been necessarily an extreme circumstance to put me back in that position. But that would be my lifelong and kind of current uh, thing that I have dealt with.
I love so many things about your story that is so impactful. I'm gonna when you see me writing, because obviously I'm a coach, we're writers, we write these notes like constantly.
Yeah, I got notes. Trust me, no, I got notes too. Trust me, I always got my notes, so
I
I know
do
what you mean.
too. Well, wait till you're my age and you can't remember anything. You live by like sticky notes and writing everything down. But
No, that's fair.
I love so much about your story, and there's so many pieces that I think are going to help the listeners. The number one thing that I love as you started was I didn't have any plan. I didn't know what I wanted. So many people are so hard on themselves, and you know this, and I know this. Coaching people, they're so hard on themselves about when is this going to happen? I need this to happen in this time frame. I
Right,
love that you said my life was happenstance. And this is what, in my opinion, the journey of life is. It will take you in different directions. Do not beat up on yourself for making one decision at this moment. That was the best decision you had at that time. Then you learned from that and it took you over here. I love that you said, I wanted to go into the NBA, but I had injuries. So I went this way. And then I'm like,
right,
well, I don't know about this. Maybe I'll go this way. If
right,
we give listeners the biggest gift we can give them out of this podcast as a takeaway, it's just go with the flow, guys. Go with the flow of life. You don't have to have all of the answers today. When you pass away at 100 years old, when you look back, you're going to say, really not a whole lot of it was planned. Am I correct, Philip? What do you think about that?
Abs- Absolutely, it's not planned. I don't think anybody's journey is set in stone. A life have circumstances that are going to come whether you ask for it or not, but it's a part of your story. People, especially when we're working with clients, you have conditions that you've been born with, the environment that you came up with, the parents that you have, the places that you come from, the schools you went to, the education you received, the relationships that you formed. Those things all have been happening within the story of life. And sometimes we get so hell bent that it's supposed to be such a certain way. Most of the time, to complete or acknowledge a feeling, you have a feeling that is leading you. And yes, from the professional standpoint, you also have your unconscious mind that is also feeling you, which we don't know why it does what it does and why we do what we do, but we have our best guesses at the conscious level. But other than that, you are trying to satisfy a feeling. And sometimes you think that that feeling is going to get satisfied by what you think would satisfy it instead of saying, you know what, let me just go with the flow, put myself in these circumstances, do what I enjoy, do what I'm good at, and let me find it. Like it's going to find you, and it may not be as quickly as you want it to be. But I've also worked with so many clients that are so hell bent on having such a plan that they get burned out, they get depressed, they get super anxious. Actually, some of the decisions and what they're trying to achieve exasperate their traumatic experiences
Yeah.
because you're not understanding. You're actually maybe doing something that is perpetuating your symptoms. You
Mm,
don't think it doesn't have to look like boo-hoo and look like a movie. You can be still functioning and working through a traumatic experience by trying to compensate with this thing in response to those things. And that could be, oh, I need this to validate me. I need that education. I need this certain amount of money. I need this type of partner. I need this type of car and this type of house and this type of recognition. And I need to be labeled something with acronyms before or after my name in order for people to care for me and love me and respect me. And I'm like, you're avoiding something.
right.
Like when you come to my office, you're probably avoiding something because if those things were to satisfy you, you wouldn't be here.
You're right.
You know,
I've had guests on who have had like on paper this amazing life, and they're like, Maureen, everybody thought I was doing fantastic. My life looked perfect, but inside I was empty. And I've had to tell my clients, stop thinking your way through life and start feeling your way through life. Because when you feel good, you make better decisions. When you
yes,
feel good, you invite kindness and friendships and relationships that are healthy. It's that, and what it comes from, I believe, in my own experience, my own life, as well as my clients, is the expectations. Everything you just explained were are expectations that someone had on us or we put on ourselves due to needing validation from the outside world. That's where the self-love, the self-esteem, self-confidence all come in. Is if I'm happy with who I am, I don't care what the world expects from me or thinks I need to be. And I love so much that you said that you sometimes perpetuate it to make it worse because you're covering something up. Something that you said I absolutely loved. That you and I have so much in common, and this is such a common thing in relationships. And I do this in my dating coaching. It's a big old neon warning red flag. You're an empath. You're gonna draw in people who need to be healed. That's where we run into relationship problems. You and I both. I drew in the narcissists. I drew in the abusers. I drew in those that I wanted to help because helping people fulfilled me. And you and I then, from our bad toxic relationships, flipped over to the best way to help people, which is to not harm ourselves in a toxic relationship. And what you said, I think is magical for the listeners. Guys, therapists, coaches, and counselors, we all have been through it too. We are human. We are not magicians and just going to school and reading books. I don't think does it. That is why you and I are so good at relationship counseling and coaching because we did it. We know what not to do. So when you come to us, we're going to say, ooh, this doesn't always end well because I've been there. So I love that you said, I've had depression. I still struggle with depression. So if you come to me with depression, I'm the best source to help you because I know how it feels. That's being an empath, right? So I didn't mean to, those were the topics I wanted, but it's so funny that what you said, I intuitively knew to ask you this because I wrote it down. You had been through it with your relationship so much to the effect that it stopped you from living. It stopped you from doing you. You recovered. You now are in a place where you understand what a healthy relationship looks like. Can you tell us what is the best method that you used from your own experience that's kind of unique or different for breakup recovery? What would you suggest or what do you tell your clients?
From a breakup or poor recovery from a relationship, the more that you look at things objectively, the better you can attend to what it is you're reacting to instead of responding to. Because we are vessels of feelings. We do have our own thoughts and we do have our own perceptions. But when it comes to where you're trying to grow, where your mind is trying to heal, where you're trying to put a better circumstance in the future, you have to learn from it. Like the body is going and the mind is going to construct its way to survive for you. But you actually have a lot more power to that than you think. And how I navigate that is also going back to this holistic perspective is you need to train yourself to look at yourself more objectively. X first name and X last name was not the issue. The things that they did or the things that they said or the feelings that you experienced from them are the issue. So they may not be bad people. They may do poor things. They may have said something that has struck you and hurt your feelings emotionally and maybe caused a lot of negative symptoms in your life, but it wasn't that person. This is you. If you're having a reaction to that, if you are seeing yourself respond to the same type of behavior or the same type of experience, that is your choice. There are 8 billion people in the world that you can choose from. And that means that when you're trying to recover from those type of things, the more you keep blaming the outside world from that, the less you are going to grow. But for me and the type of therapy that I do, I am more conscientious. So I do focus more on the objectiveness of your life. If you had to look at yourself in the mirror and talk to you about how you see your life, you need to start to look at it and say, okay, we feel this way and we think this way, but that not may be helpful. Just because you feel that way, it's valid, but that doesn't mean that it's helpful. You can really control that because that was your choice to participate in this. Even though it may have just happened for you and come to fruition, and you didn't ask for this negative outcome to happen or negative things to be brought onto you, how you handle it is still your responsibility. And you have to look at it objectively. I work with very traumatic situations with clients, really heinous and evil and wrong things that were brought onto them or that they have experienced in their own life through their own doing, but I still make them responsible for those things. Like it is unfortunate that those things have happened to you, but now it is still your responsibility. And I would be doing a poor job if I let you continue to be victimizing yourself because of that. Whoa, it's me and it's that. A child may be different. A child, is innocent and pure as it comes. So again, I'm not a child counselor or therapist, but when it comes to an adult, at some point in time, especially when your brain has been fully formed, you have your own self-sufficiency, all these type of things. How long are you going to wait to change? And part of that is accepting what has happened to you and looking at the situation objectively, like, why did this phrase hurt me? Why did this behavior do this? Why did this cause me to be depressed? Why does this cause me anxiousness? It's a thing because you don't feel that way about everything in your life. Not everything gives you that experience or that negative feeling or that negative circumstance. So it's very specific. The difference is I help you navigate how specific it is, but you can do that on your own.
Mm.
Like you really can. So look at yourself more objectively when it comes to the circumstances that you have been through. Not everything makes you feel that type of way. And if you're not going to attend to it when your mind and your body and your life is picturing and making you go through it, it's going to continue. Like it is going to continue until you kind of learn the lesson or you program your experience differently moving forward. That's like if nothing changed, nothing is going to change. And
Right.
I'm very transparent with that with a lot of clients. And when we do have a therapeutic alliance, yes, I bring in my own experiences of things and I self disclose to say, hey, you can make it through this. This is how I also did it. Hey, this is what could be helpful in this situation. I haven't been through everything, but I can relate to a lot of things with you and walk with you to forming a new change for you so that way you can get better.
Ah, I love all of that so much, and this is where sort of you and I part ways just a little bit. Um, but we still are a team where I say therapy uncovers your issues and coaching recovers your issues. And without uncovering them, there's no way that I can help you recover them. And I think it's fantastic because for me, it doesn't for me being more in the therapy and the trauma focused is not healthy for me because I just it's my personality to move, let's go this way, let's take a walk down this way. But I love that you are out there helping people doing the uncovering, and you're absolutely right. There was a if I While you were speaking, I thought back to some of my own moments of trying to recover and have the objectiveness. And I remember, and you'll probably relate to this too, when you've been in repetitive trauma and unhealthy toxic relationships, that blame piece is, why can't someone just love me for who I am? Why do I keep getting treated this way? Why me? And I stopped doing that. And when I stopped doing it, I said, I'm the common denominator in this. Why is this continuing to happen? And I came to the conclusion, because I allow it. And when you stop allowing it and you start saying, this was my motto, my mantra for a long time, is this helping me or is this hurting me? When I would rehash some of the memories, the trauma, the thoughts, because what are we doing? We're reinserting those beliefs. Why doesn't anybody love me? I'm not worthy. I'm not lovable. There must be something wrong with me. Beliefs are probably, and I hope you agree with me, the biggest piece of what holds us back in life. If we don't have a belief that we are worthy, capable, deserving, we're never, no matter how much therapy or coaching we get, we're never going to be able to move forward, right? How do we change beliefs, Phillip?
Absolutely. You know, that's a great statement that yes, core beliefs are huge in the um, psychological aspect of your life and in life circumstances itself. The way that I think we can attend to that is kind of asking the question again when you look at it objectively. I am dealt this core belief. And actually, if it's not really going to change, and I'm still repetitively kind of asking myself these questions of shame and unlovableness and uncare and unsafety, undesirable, unnecessary, all these core beliefs about myself. Well, how come you don't learn how to operate within them? And to me, that is something that I do my practice and my set of skills try to help clients with is that I actually don't want to change those core beliefs because you need to learn how to manage yourself still believing that. So what happens is that a lot of people think that's going to change 0 to 100, and shame is going to be unshameful and unlovable is going to be lovable. No, what happens is that you get to create the experience that you may have wanted, especially when you were a self-sufficient adult.
Mhm.
So if you felt unlovable, well, what made you feel unlovable? Yes, we could say parents, but what makes me feel loved? Well, being around friends, being around my loved ones, being around my romantic partner, being appreciated at work, being a good parent to my own children that I produce. Like those things make me feel loved. So I create the thing that is contradicting what that belief may be. But what happens is that when the experience of a person is happening, they think that the experience again would automatically not either confirm or deny that belief. And if you keep looking at it that type of way, you're going to be thinking it's still somebody else's problem that's supposed to fix yours.
Mhm.
No, it is your responsibility for that. And you need to operate within that. And so it's kind of like somebody saying, like, um, if they were born with asthma and they still wanted to run, you're not going to blame oxygen for why you can't get oxygen into your lungs. You were born with asthma. So, what you need to do is, if you still want to participate in being physically active and running, you need to have an inhaler. That is the cards that you were dealt with. So you can still do what you want to do, but if you kept blaming oxygen, you're never going to put yourself out there to go run and know what that feeling is like. But it's okay that you have an inhaler. So that's a physical type of symptom that you have to deal with that you were born with. But it's the same thing when it comes to psychological part, where yes, you may have been through trauma. You may have been unloved by parents. You may have been shameful because you were bullied or significant other at the time cheated on you or you feel that you're not good enough, all those type of things, you get imposter syndrome for some type of things, a lot of these core beliefs. But I'm like, it's okay to operate within that because that's only a part of you, that's not all of you, because in other circumstances those feelings from those core beliefs don't always come up. So what I'm saying is let's start to do more of those beliefs, even with the common denominator being core beliefs. So I want you to love with being scared. I want you to put yourself out there to fail and be comfortable with learning, even though you feel shame from it. I want you to find somebody that finds you attractive and that reinforces that they find you attractive physically and emotionally and other type of ways, even though you don't believe that you are that type of way. Like you have to operate within that. And I don't think that we should really perpetuate people to change those core beliefs. That's why it's at the core. And this is unfortunately your core. But you can change what is around you and through your life experiences to not feel those core beliefs as much. Like,
Right. Keeping, you keep addressing the same thing. It's not, you're not coping with it, right? You're not manifesting anything different in that way. And I love that you said that. First of all, visual analogies are my thing. And so I love that example. The thing is, I've done this myself and also have helped clients do it. When you feel this way, and it's the hardest thing to do, because to me, discomfort is growth. And that's how I learned was I had to put myself out there to be so discomfort in so much discomfort and uncomfortable that by doing it, I empowered myself to say I made it through that thing. And that's similar to what you're saying, where it's like, okay, here's your core belief. It doesn't have to be. So try this different thing, and you'll find that that core belief doesn't have to keep popping up all the time. You can create this new belief. But I love how it's very interesting how you say, we're not going to change your core beliefs. There's a study or a thing that someone did one time, and I find it fascinating. They took two plants, and one of them they yelled at and gave, just talked terrible to it every single day. And the other one they gave compliments to and said, "You're so beautiful and I love you," and blah, 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 with the same exact scenario of how much water, how much sunlight, but
Yeah,
just
no, yeah. I think I've heard of that study. Yes, yeah, yeah,
saying that.
yeah.
So when people come to me and they say, I feel this way, or this is how I feel, and I'll say to them, how could you feel any other way? That was what you were basically groomed to feel. You were trained to feel. Our parents didn't know what they were doing. We didn't know, don't know what we were doing as parents and so on. We do the best with what we know and do a little bit better than what made us feel bad. So we do it a little bit better, but no one's gonna be a perfect parent. But I do believe people are so hard on themselves about who they are when the things that happen to you, if you were that plant and you were talked to like that, it's inevitable that you're gonna wilt and your leaves are gonna dry up. So letting go of the belief that there's something wrong with us and looking at the circumstance of, well, of course I would feel that way. Of course anyone would feel that way. And for me, that was a big step in my healing, especially it was funny the challenge, and I want to see what your experience was as well. Going from these toxic relationships, picking the same type of people with a different face, and then finally and my whole brand, I don't know if you saw anything, is about the dogs. And the dogs were the ones that changed me and looked at me with this unconditional love that made me realize, dang it, I don't love myself that way. When I started loving myself like they loved me, that unconditional love, man, the relationship search was different. The accepting of anything less than was no longer there. That bar was so high, and I could no longer go beneath that. And the best thing for me was the acceptance. When I went out on a new date, I would say I would be with someone and see that they had characteristics I didn't like. Usually I would make them love me. I need you to like me. I really need you to fall for me. Then when I was healed and I loved myself, I went out just to have a good dinner and good conversation. I didn't care what anybody thought anymore. And the relief was walking out of it and just saying, oh, we're just not a good fit, instead of saying there's something unlovable about me, right? What do you think was something similar like I did that helped you? And are you in that place where now finding that healthy relationship, you understand now why you chose the people that you had chosen previously?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Freud did a really good job when it came to the unconscious mind and our attachments to our parents, especially of the opposite sex.
Yeah.
I think he did brilliant work on that. It was revolutionary, and it still applies to this day for sure. And I say that because I am an only child, and I come from a single mother, and my mother is Caribbean, and she had me at 37. So I wasn't brought up, I was raised. She's extremely high conscientiousness. She's also kind of high neurotic at the same time, and very assertive, not necessarily passive at all. And the reason I say that was because as I started to be able to think more on a conscientious level of the outside world that I was observing, and then be able to understand it from a literature standpoint of observing behavior, like, oh, that's what I observed. And that's what it's called. That's basically like what we're doing is that I went to school to understand the actual terms of what I was already observing. That's really what it was. It has specific names, and you learn the symptoms, and then you learn how to treat it as you become a professional. But I say that in the sense of when I'm having the relationship with my mother, there are different ways that you can look at a person. You could look at a person and say, this is who they are. Or you can say that's a part of them. The mother that I had has given me the human experience, and still to this day, of the feeling of unconditional love that I could never repay, I could never understand, and I could just give my life back to appreciating that. Like this woman would literally give me her life if I needed her to. That is something that I can't comprehend as another human being, not just a parent, but there are human beings that do that in relationships. So I appreciate her for that. Now, the other part of her that I react to is the thing that is perpetuating in those romantic relationships. She is unapologetic. She is she shuts down during discourse and conflict. She is very projecting of her feelings in a very assaulting and rude type of way when she is triggered by something. She is not as empathetic and she communicates very poorly without the consideration of me receiving it.
Wow.
Okay.
Mhm.
What do I say? Why do I say those qualities? Because again, we can look at people in parts of the things that we don't like through them.
Mm.
Because the same things that I experienced with her, it's not her, it is the things that she is doing. I don't like these behaviors. I'm reacting to this. And again, getting back to that inner child is like, why are you hurting me? I don't feel safe. Do you not see me reacting? Do you not see me have a problem with this? Like, but now as I've gotten to the point in my relationship with her, when those things happen, no boundary. One thing that I kind of do with her, and she used to say, and I was a great kid. I was a great kid, but she used to say, "I'm not a complaint department." And guess what I say now when she's doing those type of things, and I don't like it. I say, "No, whoa, we're equals now as adults. I'm not a complaint department." Why? One, it's a boundary. Two, it gives her a taste of her own medicine. And then three, it protects me. So I can't stop her from behaving that type of way. I'm not changing a
Yeah.
65-year-old woman,
Yeah.
but I can have a boundary about what I am noticing myself having reacted to for this long a period of time that I've been with her. And I've been in enough situations and conversations and experiences to look at it objectively and sit with myself saying, what was the thing that I did not like? What was the thing that's making me cry and feel like this and hurt and angry? What are those things? And so with those relationships, the same things happen with the women. I don't like how you talk. I don't like how you express. I don't like that you're not empathetic. I don't like that you have been physical with me in a very domestic, wrong type of way. I don't like the fact that you can't communicate your feelings appropriately. I don't like the fact that you overstep my boundaries. I don't like the fact that you behave in a manner that hurts me more than it loves me. And so when I find myself reacting those type of things with a woman or in a relationship, I set back. But then now, as I go forward, once that shows up, there may be nothing wrong with you. Like, not at all, just like on the
Yeah.
date. There's nothing wrong with you. And it's okay that you may behave this type of way. That doesn't make you uh extreme feminist. That may be really mean to men. That doesn't make you a B word. That doesn't mean that you should go and off yourself. That doesn't mean that you should that's why men don't date you. No, this I don't need to label you like that. I just know that I have learned myself and observed the things from the woman that I came out of into this
Yeah.
world. And with you, I observe these behaviors that I don't like. And I know as now as a man that because I have done the work to recognize these specific things that I'm reacting to, I am able to put the boundary or around those things and not put myself in the environment to experience that. So you may not just be the person for me. That doesn't mean you may not be a person for somebody else. But for those things that I react to, I just can't appreciate those things and I can't see myself in a long term relationship like that. So that is the experience that I've had when I've been in those traumatic or just poor relationships with certain type of women.
Thank you so much for that insight because you're so right. We learn about relationships from our parents. This is what we do. And it isn't something that we always consciously do. It's that subconscious we take in facts. We saw our subconscious is a record keeper. We saw this happen. This must be a fact. So I love, thank you for your vulnerability about your mother. And because I wrote down, you describe yourself as boring and nonchalant. And that's funny that you said that, and I've been listening to,
Yeah.
words that you use. And then when you described your mother, and I heard assertive, aggressive, even, that makes sense. It was your flight response to kind of deal and cope with someone who sort of is overpowering. Yet the other thing you said is that she was so unconditionally loving, high consciousness. She would sacrifice. This is a beautiful thing, listeners. If you think about it, look at the people in your life, and we can kind of break them down into parts. And what he said is it's behavior versus who they are, where we label them as good or bad or evil, or, we got to stop doing that. I am 100% on board with you where I say you are who you are, but I'm allowed now to say that's not something that works for me. I cannot have that in my energy field. And in my book, I write about a heart guard. Think of just, the in the old days of medieval times, the knights with the metal armor on. I mean, that's how I had to literally picture myself when I went out on a date, after all of that. Like, protect yourself. But it's amazing how hard it is for especially people pleasers or codependents, as I was, to set those boundaries and say, you're not allowed to say that to me. It's not okay. I recently had an experience with my mother, who again is never going to change. I'm going through I'm going through some health issues, and she made a comment, and I said to my husband, that's a window into my childhood you just saw there. But she owned it. I came back and I was like, what are you doing? And she literally came back and said, oh, that was really insensitive. I said, that really bothered me. And I would never have done that with my mother in the past. But she came back and said, that was really insensitive of me. I won't say anything like that again. Do you forgive me? I'm 54, almost 55 next month. To have my mother for the first time in my life say, do you forgive me? I won't do that again. That was insensitive, was just like a oh moment. But it took 55 years, but that's
Yeah.
okay. I didn't have an expectation of her apologizing. That's just, I knew that was a part, as Philip just said, of who she is. The other parts I love because she cares about me, and I know she worries about me. And I am in similar ways like her. I make jokes that like to lighten things up because I don't like people to be in pain. So I think that was her way of just kind of lightening up what I was going through. So if we can flip always, guys, instead of saying they're a terrible person, why did they do that? And just say, oh, okay, I understand them because I've done that as well. That's, I think, the key, and Philip hit on it, is there's parts of people and behavior that we don't like, and we're allowed to say that is not okay. I can't accept that. I don't like when that happens. And we're allowed to walk away from that, or put up a boundary. So as we wrap up, um, I want to ask Philip where to find. I know I always do my homework on my guests, and I know that you have fantastic programs, and Philip also has a book. So my fellow author, he has a book called Breakup Recovery, or I'm sorry, Marriage Counseling, Expert Advice for a Strong and Lasting Relationship. Sorry, I skipped over my topic, but that is on Amazon. Can you tell us what is in that book? What are some helpful things that people can read in that book?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm so glad that you mentioned it. I'm very, very proud of it. It takes you from looking at yourself individually, again, helping yourself understand the objectiveness of you. You have a personality, you have a communication style, you have a way that you respond to different circumstances, you have different identities. And then it allows you to look at different tools as you work with your partner. So I didn't want it to be like, okay, let's just look at the relationship first. No, you are an individual. And even though you may not work directly with me, I want to give you real psychological assessments about yourself and psychoeducation into you
Mhm.
before you go deal with other people. Because again, people are not the issue sometimes. And what's very helpful is to allow an individual to learn about themselves first. Oh, I have this personality type. I have this attachment style. I have this way of communicating. And it does real assessments that I do within my office or within the romantic couples counseling that I do. So you'll learn about yourself first in the first couple of chapters. Then it allows you to look at the techniques. It has Gottman in there, which has been a very well known relationship institution. So they work specifically with couples. They have great things. You have communication styles. You have scenarios, and then you also then branch together of what is the conflict. It is you and him or her in solving this problem. But the issue is that some people don't know why they are reacting or responding to this. So it has the ability for you to say, you have yours, I have mine, and we're coming together. And what is going to build this together? What is our culture going to look like? What is our communication going to look like? How do we respond to those deep, negative core beliefs? Like, I want you to understand me and I understand you. So then it does, again, what I do, which is other techniques of reflection, mirroring, validating, paraphrasing, um, all of those different techniques that you may not have learned those type of communication style. It's you just have not learned it. It's actually a very different way to speak to somebody. And actually also it does the receiving part. What am I not receiving? What am I not understanding? Because you can communicate all day and I can give you all the techniques, but if you can't receive, then it's not going to be very helpful. And all you really have to do, and all I do, is validate each other's experience and your words. Like you said, it's not right or wrong, good or bad, correct or incorrect, good or evil. No, it's not you, and me. It's us, it's we. And so it gets to also some skills and some practices that you can practically involve with that partner. And if you take the time to really do it and work through that book, I would love to hear the feedback because there's no way that you can go through that and just not improve your romantic relationship. So, and I'm going to continue writing more books about that as I continue as a professional too, to keep adding to what I learn and what I experience it and bringing it back to the audience.
I love it. I love it. I love it. We should team up with like a package deal with our books because yours sounds very wonderful as far as like methods and stuff, and mine's more anecdotal and what questions to ask when you're out there dating and different stages of dating and relationships. So I love that so much. Guys, if you want more information, please go to pqcoachingandconsulting.com. Look at me and my homework. See, you didn't even know I knew all of this. You send me a simple little bio and you think that's all we're gonna do, but you don't know this host, man.
Appreciate that. No, I really appreciate
So
that.
as we end every episode, because it is a lot of heavy stuff, I have little segments that I do that are fun, and I love putting my guests on the spot. So you're gonna love me for this, Mr. Nonchalant Boring. Um, I'm throwing you under the bus here. No, I pick segments for each of my guests, thinking what fits their personality, and this was actually a good one. This segment is called "What Should I Call You?" And I want to know a funny or weird nickname you gave yourself or somebody else gave you throughout your life that it makes you giggle or people would go, "Why do you say that? Why would someone call you that?"
Ooh, obviously I have Phil because it's Philip, and then I had PJ as my grandmother and my uncles and godmothers used to call me, and that's all in my notebooks. But I think uh this is probably going to be weird, but people call me head ass. With like they just call me their little head ass, which just it really means like and my friends will describe it to me. If you had to describe Phil as your friend, how would you describe him? Phil is an idiot. Like He's so stupid and he laughs and he does the dumbest things and says the dumbest things. Like he's just so unpredictable. You don't know where he's gonna go. So he's like, oh, I'm so educated and I'm a therapist and I'm so smart, but y'all don't really know, like behind closed doors, he is a head ass. He steals my snacks. He embarrasses me when we're out. He, might end up dancing with an old lady. He might make my friends laugh at me. I'll make your mom like giggle by telling her all our secrets. Like I'm a head ass for real. Like I'll trip over myself. I'll forget something like out, but you don't see that side of me until you're my friend and you're around me. So it's like orderly, he's particular, he's this, he's educated, he's well spoken, he does all this, but y'all have no idea. Like he is a fool. Like he does the dumbest things ever. Like he is an idiot. So we call that a little head ass. And I know for sure I'm a couple people's head ass, and
I love that. You have no idea. I told you I would get it out of you, did I
yeah,
not? I warned you. That's the whole thing. We're humans. We have all these different sides to us. I'm like you. I'm so forgetful and I squirrel at every turn, like I will my glasses are infinitely, I have 10 pairs of glasses because infinitely I'm losing them. I have to have an office glasses, purse glasses, car glasses, kitchen glasses, like literally.
my memory is ass. Like it is so bad. Like people are like, Phil, we did that last week. Phil, I told you this. I'm like, I don't remember. And my mom and my friends are like, you really don't remember? I'm like, nope, I don't. I really am surprised about my memory. Like my memory is not that good when it comes to stuff. So like, Phil, you don't remember putting this, you don't remember when we went here. Like I even talking to like romantically, I'll tell a girl, hey, look, if we continue and we continue a year from now, and you're like, Phil, what was our first date? Don't know. I'm telling you now, I don't know. That doesn't mean I don't like you. That doesn't mean I don't want a relationship with you. I promise you, I'm telling you up front, my memory is bad.
I have a
Like,
theory. I have a theory. You're very much like me, and I think people who are empathetic, or even in the helper arena, or even just very conscious of the world around them, I feel like we have to clear out a lot of stuff to let more stuff in. I'm a super open-minded person, and I'm a sponge for
okay,
learning stuff. So my theory is, I'm gonna just give myself some credit here, is I gotta get rid of some of this stuff, except for the 80s songs lyrics. That's gonna stay in there forever. But otherwise, the other stuff just it's gotta move on. I don't care what I had for breakfast, 3 days
right.
ago.
Exactly.
I
And you're
got
right about it. Yeah, for sure.
I
You're definitely right about that. I remember people and their details of other people that I've talked to years ago. I know what we talked about, where we were, what we discussed, your birthday, your traumas, like whatever you disclose. I can actually remember as long as I see your face. Like I'm maybe not good with names unless I really know you, but like I can tell you about us and you, but I can't tell you about me. I don't know. Like I just like I'm like I said, I'm just going through life. I know what I need to do. I remember what I said in the session. I know what the client said. I'm good for everybody else, but me, I really care
Well,
less.
I think you and I are very similar. Like I can't do superficial conversations. So what I remember, what sticks in my mind is like depth. When I have a deep conversation or I'm emotionally impacted by something, that's the stuff that sticks with me. But like the superficial stuff, it's like, no, I don't have room for that. That just it doesn't resound with me whatsoever. So this was extremely fun, and I am so happy that you came. And thank you for being our guest. And my listeners are going to appreciate you. I'm going to have all of your links in your book, all that stuff, in the show notes. So I hope you had a good time. Did you have a good time today?
A great time, Maureen. It was a great conversation. I think again, having somebody who's in a similar field and with a similar purpose, I think we added a lot of value to your listeners. So thank you so much for having me. This was really, really fun. It's made my day.
Yay! I love it so much. Hang in with me before you go. So, listeners, that's going to do it for this week's episode. I had a great time with Philip. I always love like-minded people and like-spirited people because it's just there is no competition in life. There is only collaboration, and if you keep that mindset, you have so much to gain from each other, from other people. So never be closed-minded that you're competing with people, because you're not. We're all in this same experience, and there's a piece of the pie for everybody. So there's room for all of us. But if you also need relationship coaching from myself, or dating coaching, or I do work with a lot of people that are recovering from divorce, and you're building that self-esteem. I also work with people to, there's a lot of false beliefs that we've been given that I feel maybe a little bit differently than Philip about the core belief thing, but we both help in our ways. But I do believe there's sometimes we've taken on beliefs from other people that are not true, and we live our lives based on their beliefs. So I do a lot of that just to build that empowerment, that self-esteem, that self-love, so you can set those boundaries in your life. So my coaching is at lifecoachmaureen.com. And don't forget my books. And I do have book number 4. My second children's book is in the works. I just sent it off for illustration. So my dog is more enlightened than I am is number 1. My dog is my relationship coach is number 2. My children's book for 0 to 6 is My Dog Bexley is Just Like Me, teaching our children mindfulness and emotions and feelings, and self-care is very important. And book number 4, I'm not telling you the title yet because we're going to have a big reveal, but just know that it's going to be really fantastic. And it's going to be for my little older readers. It's going to be like your 5 to 9, I think, somewhere around there. Yeah, 5 to 9 readers. And it's going to be absolutely fabulous. But thank you all for being here. Don't forget my dog boutique, mydogiseverything.net, where I have healthy treats that I make in my kitchen for your puppies with no preservatives, no byproducts, and no sawdust, which is, believe it or not, in a lot of dog treats. So I also have doggy apparel and fun stuff like that. So mydogiseverything.net. So thank you all for being here. I love you guys so much. Please leave those comments. Please subscribe. Please, go check out Philip's website. Go see what he's got going on. He's got programs. He's got all kinds of things. Get his book. If you get his book or you get my books, please, please, please leave those reviews. We read everyone. We value it. We put so much of our heart and soul. It's like a newborn baby we hand over to the publisher. We really want to know what you think. And please be kind, because kindness gets you everywhere in this life. So until next week, my friends, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Most of all, take care of those furry babies for me. And let's be sure that we adopt and we do not shop. There are plenty of babies that need a forever home. So until next week, y'all. Ooh, my Texas just came out. Whoop, whoop. I love you all.